Hey everyone, Blair Reynolds here, and today we have Dan Fleyshman. To give you a little bit of background on Dan Fleyshman, he was the youngest owner of a public traded company in history. And I literally mean in history. So he is somebody that you'll want to listen to because he's absolutely fantastic. So Dan, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So I have to start because that's always shocking. Everybody's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But how did you have that sort of business sense at such a young age? Where did it come from?
I think it's because I just got a head start. We had started our first company when we were 17 years old. And by 18, we were doing $9.5 million in sales. By 19, we were in almost $30 million in sales. We were in 16,000 retail stores at that time. And so you kind of get a fast forward in life. You start to really have to figure things out really quickly. And I didn't get to go to college because everything was happening so fast from high school. So by the time we were 23, it felt like we were 40.
Wow.
So it didn't feel like we were 23-year-old kids. And we started working in the process when we were 21, 22, because it takes over a year of filings and accounting paperwork that, again, we had no idea about. It was all an evolving learning process. But we knew that was the proper evolution for our company, and we wanted to raise a ton of money to go and really expand the energy drink. So that's what we did. And when we were 23 and we went public, we had accountants, advisors, and lawyers and investment bankers. I mean, it wasn't like me and my partner were like, okay, we're going to go public.
Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Let's go to the stock exchange.
Yeah. No, we surrounded ourselves with really good people in the industry, and we basically, this was back when Google was really first starting. This is well over a decade ago. We had to sit and research and find out who does what to find those good people. Some of them we were cold calling. I mean, we're just like, hey, we want to go public, and this is what we want to do. And then they referred us to a guy who knew a guy, and
it worked out.
It worked out.
Yeah, so you were 17 years old when you started your company.
Yeah.
What was the company, and how did you get the idea for it?
So my partner in high school, my friend in high school first, he always used to say, "Who's your daddy?" He used to say that catchphrase a lot
really
on the
funny.
football field, during lunch. And I noticed the reactions. People always laugh about it.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah. And so in high school, I was working 3 jobs. I was working at Ruby's Diner and Qualcomm Stadium selling cotton candy and peanuts and Cracker Jacks. And I was working for a stockbroker. I was just trying to do everything I could to save up money for college. And he was the rich kid in school, a Corvette and Escalade in high school. And
Wow.
I was driving my 82 Buick and working 3 jobs. And his dad ran this $200 million a year company. And so we became friends, and I always heard him say it, and I saw the reactions. So I thought, hey, I'm going to make some T-shirts with "Who's Your Daddy" name on it. So I made 50 of them, and we sold them for $15 each. So now we have $750 cash after 3 days. I'm like, oh my God, we're millionaires.
What are we going to do with
In
this?
high school, it was like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Exactly.
And so my brother had brought up trademarking it and we weren't even technically allowed to trademark it yet. We were only 17.
Oh.
And so we started our filings, and they said by the time you're going to be 18, that's when the trademark will go through, blah, blah, blah. So we did our filing, we trademarked the catchphrase, and they said you have to go to Magic. I'm like, what the heck's a Magic? And Magic was the clothing convention, the biggest clothing convention in the world. 90,000 people, you got to be there.
Wow.
We weren't legally allowed to go. You have to be 21, not 18. We were barely turning 18.
Oh.
So we went to the convention, and we had...
Wait, how'd you go to the convention? Yeah, okay, we'll skip that part.
Basically, I had a family member reserve the rooms for us.
Okay.
And my mom put the convention booth in her name.
Mm-hmm.
I gave her the cash, the check, and then she put on her credit card. And then we made business cards at the local grocery store on a machine.
Yeah.
We didn't even go to Kinko's. It was a process.
You were cutting with scissors?
Basically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there.
And we got our booth, and we got 2 booths because we thought we were gonna be big time. So we got 2 booths. We were right next to Fubu, who had 30 booths.
Oh, man.
And they had the entire block, and they had Mary J. Blige and LL Cool J and this huge, DJs. Our booth was the size of this room. It was the size of, 20-foot space. And we got lucky. People loved the name. And we had Nordstrom's, and there's a Miller's Outpost, which is now Anchor Blue. And we were getting $1 million orders and small as $1,000, $1,200 orders for local stores, as big as $1 million order at 17 years old.
So you had the idea. So can you unpack that? Because I think people that are listening, they're like, you said something really important where you saw that people were reacting to that concept. So what was that flashed in your mind like, oh, this could be good?
I think when you get a true organic reaction, where people, whether they love it or hate it. So let's say there's a fad coming out, like twerking is a new fad that People can love it or hate it. The general public may not know what the heck it is. Some people are infatuated with it. Some people think it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. They're reacting over it.
Yeah.
So if there was something to do, whether it's a twerking app or it was, it's a silly reference, but it's true. It's something that people reacted. It came out of nowhere. You could never have guessed it. But now that there's a moment in time that's happening, people can make apps about it, which some of them have. You can make trademarks or clothing about it or T-shirts or events or live twerking fitness events. It doesn't matter. You can take an idea when you see an emotional reaction and build from that. That's what we did. It's crazy that nobody had already trademarked the catchphrase, "Who's your daddy?"
Yeah.
We got so lucky because there was already mainstream music songs. There was huge things that had happened before using that name, radio shows, TV shows. Nobody had ever trademarked it. So we had done 300 trademarks in 5 continents. We'd spent over $100,000 just trademarking every version of the name, but it paid off in spades because we licensed it to Fox. We licensed it to the Star Wars movie poster for 3 million posters when they had that Darth Vader came out on Father's Day. Well, because it was Father's Day, they wanted to write "Who's your daddy?" They can't do that without paying us. So we had a lot of great situations because of that trademark. Besides owning it for ourselves, we licensed it out to other people. So I guess the idea is, if there's something that you do or you say or people like about something, again, love it or hate it, that reaction is what matters because that's where you can gauge whether there's really a product or a company or brand that can come out of that.
Man, that is fascinating. I'm curious because you've had so much success, just one after another, after another, after another, and obviously failures as well, like all of us have. But what about your community? What about the people that were mentors? What about the people that spoke in your life? I mean, who is that group for you, and how were you able to identify them that helped you to do what you accomplished?
So when you go to these conventions and you go to these events and you networking, I started to meet so many people because of that, and that's really key. Whatever business you're in, whether it's real estate or selling life insurance, doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to go out and meet people because those are your eventual clients. Maybe not them directly, but if you say, "I'm a real estate agent," and you have 300 friends, somebody's going to know somebody that wants to buy a house or rent a house at some point. So you don't have to go out and ask them to give you referrals all the time. You just have to make it clear that you are a real estate agent or you sell insurance. And whether that's on your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, whatever it is you're doing, project that without going out and asking those 300 people. Tell them about what you do and see if you can provide them something because later on the line, somebody's going to want to buy a house. I promise someone's going to buy a house.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. So you want to do what you can to help them. Give them free advice. Give people free lectures. Give them free connections. Give those things out to those people, whether it's via social media or in person. You'll never know when that phone call is going to come. And usually when you have 300 friends or 3,000 friends, that phone call is going to come every month or two. So I guess the way I built my circle was being out there a lot and always offering up my relationships to each other. And so I'm kind of that middleman for a lot of situations, a lot of deals, and a lot of things that have happened. It was me basically introducing this person with this person and then them flourish. One of our speakers tomorrow at Secret Knock is somebody I introduced Greg Reed to, and they actually become top 5 friends ever. They both know thousands of people. They're like, this is one of my best friends now.
Yeah.
And it was all over simple, hey, you need to meet him. He was the CEO of Samsung for 10 years. Greg Reed's an amazing book author. You want to write a book, you guys need to meet.
Perfect.
Now they're doing a book. They did a book together, and now Dave Meltzer is speaking tomorrow.
Wow. So let's talk about that just a little bit because when we talk about giving away, like you're going to add value, and then once in a while you draw it back. Like, how do you do that in a way that it doesn't feel taxing? Like you're just not constantly martyring yourself for everybody else's dreams.
It is a bit taxing. So I'm not going to say it's not. There's a ton of situations where I introduce people, and sometimes they go off and make millions of dollars. Sometimes I try to make a commission agreement. I'd say 90% of the time it's just me setting them up.
Yeah.
So if Dave Meltzer and Greg Reed write a book and they make millions of dollars, I'm not asking for anything, and I wouldn't expect anything. But now, 1 year from now or 10 years from now, I can call either one of them and say, hey, I need you for something.
Yeah.
And they won't think twice about it. It's not a favor to me anymore. I did my favor without asking them for anything, and I may never make that phone call. And 30 years may go by and never make that phone call. But then maybe I have a phone company idea and I call the old CEO of Samsung and say, hey, can you help me with something? Or I call Greg.
You know this industry.
Right.
Do you have any insights?
Right. And so it is a bit of a martyr, or it is a bit of a taxing situation. To me, I don't think twice about it.
Yeah. It's fulfilling.
Yes.
It's sacrificial, but it's fulfilling.
Right.
Could pay off.
When certain people ask me for certain things, I really don't think twice about setting them up for that, because one, I know it's going to help at some point, and two, if that helps the world or things happen and things benefit from it, then all the better. Because I got lucky so many times. Even through failures, I got lucky right after those. So for me, handing out those relationships is second nature.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the idea of failures, because I think a lot of people watching are kind of like, ugh, I'm intimidated now. You know, he's had a lot of successes and world-class successes, but it's not always successes. Like, we all have our failures. So can you dive into one failure and just how that situation affected you and how you responded?
Yeah. Same way there's world-class, I've had world-class failure. I've had a global failure where it was mind-boggling. Like, and it wasn't technically our fault because the government had shut down online poker. So basically what happened was, on the 10-year anniversary of starting the Who's Your Daddy company, when I was 27, I resigned from the company just because I wanted another feather in my cap. I didn't want to do the same company my whole life. And at the time, we were in 55,000 retail stores. We had a really good base. We had 46 employees. Everything was set up right, and I wanted to do the online poker site.
Yeah.
And so I brought up the idea to one of the most famous poker players in the world. He said yes. Within 4 days, we'd raised $2.5 million and built the third largest team of poker pros in the world.
Wow.
Within 10 weeks, we were live. That was in November. February 1st, we were live, functioning poker site globally.
Yeah.
Week 10, 41,000, we had over 100,000 real money players at the time.
That's ridiculous.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then 13 months into it is April 15th. Now on April 19th, we're supposed to get $3.5 million for only 15% of the company.
Okay.
That had started a year prior with 2.5. So we have 8 times what our company was worth within 13 months. We're also supposed to get $200,000 a month in marketing expenses. So everybody's ecstatic. April 19th, we're going to have this blockbuster deal. I buy $63,000 worth of flights to go to Costa Rica for the whole team. Non-refundable flights, because why would I need refundable flights? We're all going for sure, right? Yeah. And then boom, April 15th is Black Friday. Online poker is shut down in America. Billions of dollars are seized from Full Tilt and PokerStars. And the sky fell. And again, it wasn't technically our fault, because what am I supposed to do? They just shut down and seized everybody's accounts. They didn't seize our accounts because we did everything right. We weren't hiding things the way these other guys were. So within 4 days, which happened to be April 19th, when we were supposed to receive all that money, I actually paid back 41,000 real money players.
Oh.
And so, while the other sites weren't paying anybody back, because this was their chance to be scumbags, basically, essentially.
Walk away.
Right.
But
so we paid everybody back. It's April 19th. It happens to be April 19th. I pay everybody back. The guys in Costa Rica obviously understand there's no more deal. I have non-refundable flights. So now I'm paid everybody back. I'm upside down $63K for that. We had just lent a bunch of money to the company, knowing that we're getting this huge amount of funding coming in, blah, blah, blah. There's nobody to cry to. There is no more poker in America. And the big guys are gone. And that was the ultimate failure on a global scale. I mean, for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I must have done 80 plus interviews from ESPN down to local stations, because I was the only American CEO of a poker site that didn't get in trouble and paid everybody back. So that was a huge turning point in my life. One, I think the biggest thing I realized was, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because at the time, that was my baby. That was my company. I wasn't angel investing, I wasn't advising, I wasn't consulting, I had nothing else going on. That was my one-track mind. Now, to really build a huge business, you have to have a one-track mind. But I learned, way more importantly, you have to have other revenue streams. Because at that moment, I had just put out everything. Leading up to expecting the April 19th deal to happen. And I had homes in three different cities and countries. I was living in Malta and Vegas. It was like this whole thing. And then, now what? Now what? So I would say, lucky in the sense that I had built an amazing brand during those 13 months on a global scale. And people took note of that. And so when Black Friday happened, I got a lot of consulting offers to help other people's legal poker sites and legal gaming sites in different countries. So I started consulting right away to build my life back up. And I was advising for some tech companies. It ended up being 12 companies that I was either angel investing into or advising for. And that would have never happened if Black Friday didn't happen. And some of those have gone on to become pretty big. Juice company, a tech company, an app company, etc. So I would say, when you have that failure, I could have sat on the floor and cried about it. The problem is when you sit on the floor and cry, time goes really slow. You start to think about everything you coulda, woulda, shoulda. There's nothing you can do about that past. I can't call the government to turn back online poker. I can't change what happened. So right away, I started making myself very, very busy, and it helped alleviate the pain. Because I wasn't thinking about oh my God, I had a gazillion-dollar company that just went away overnight.
You channeled it.
Right. And so keeping myself busy made me not think about the bad stuff. And I could create and do things and just focus straight ahead. And so I take that huge, huge, huge failure, and now 12 different companies I have pieces of, I'm advising, I'm consulting, I'm able to speak at events like this one. Because of that, because of what happened from that, I feel like I'm better.
So I shouldn't play you in poker. I feel like I will never put money on the table if you're ever around. Like, I'll be like, we're good, I'll watch. This is going to be fun.
The fun thing about poker is there's 60 million people that play poker on a monthly basis. It's a game that you can play against the best in the world and actually win sometimes.
Yeah.
Over the long run, you're not going to beat Philanthropy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to happen. But on any given night, you can. And what's interesting is there's no other sport you can do that. You can't go play with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson.
Or LeBron.
You can't go play with LeBron and Michael Jordan. It's not going to happen. But in poker, you can sit with Phil Ivey, you can sit with some of these household names and battle them and actually have a chance of winning that tournament or winning that cash game for that night. So poker is a very fun, interesting dynamic. It's kind of like the new golf because anybody can sit and play it. And now that there's so many free money apps and Zynga has their big app, there's a lot of free access to poker, and it's kind of like golf, except you can do it for 10 minutes or play for 10 hours anywhere and anytime.
So not just a game of luck.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No. I know that every time I sit down because I'm always like, how do I always lose? I feel like you're like all night long. I'm just getting owned. But so I want to jump into another topic, which is entrepreneurs. So most people that are on this site, they are either entrepreneurs that are mature, in that process, or they're just aspiring. They just want to build a business. And I think that you've been exposed to some of the greatest minds in business. And obviously you've learned a lot of things along the way. So what are a couple tips? What are those things that separate the people that are successful and have that kind of success and the people that just seem to constantly spin?
So the biggest thing I can say is just start. So the kind of the catchphrase I use a lot is don't talk about it, be about it. The reason I say that is everybody's just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I have this idea and this app idea and this app idea and this app idea. I hear every single day, 20 times a day, I get Facebook emails and text messages. Everybody's got this new app idea or this new company idea, but they haven't started anything.
Yeah.
And by starting, you can do some very simple things. Get a corporation, trademark your catchphrase, talk to people first and see if there's a viable idea. People react to it. Get your Twitter, get your Facebook, get your Instagram. Just get a platform of things, very basic things. Get your website.
Yeah.
Even if you build these things yourself to start, at least now you've formed something. I see that you're putting some kind of effort. You've done something. You have a company. Because people pitch me like, oh, can you put $100K into this? Hey, I'm raising $250,000 for this. Oh, I need $30,000 for this. I need $1 million for this. They don't have a corporation. You don't have a corporation. You don't have a bank account. So I can't even invest into you if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So you haven't done the necessary steps for even people to look at you. Then once you've actually formed those things and you see people like it, you have something set up, build a business plan. You don't need to do a 45-page business plan. Make a 6-page one. Make something people are actually going to flip through. We're in an ADD society. Make a very basic, this is what I want to do, this is who's involved, this is why I want to do it, this is how I'm going to do it. Whether that's 6 pages or 10 pages, 12 pages.
Can you say that again? I don't know if that came off the top of your head, but
yeah, it just came out this.
I was going to say that was good. Do that one more time.
This is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm going to do it with. This is why I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. The reason for that is, if you don't have those things, why would myself or my friends give you money to do it? You're not ready. You're not ready to take $100,000 from an investor. Once you take a penny from somebody else, you better work 10 times harder. Because now you're not just risking your own time, energy, and money. Now you've got somebody else's money online.
Yeah.
And I take that very seriously. There's been times where I've had a failure, and I'll personally pay people back. I don't owe them the money. They invested, they took a risk. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I've physically paid them back myself just because when you take money from somebody else as an investment, you have to work 10 times harder. It's out of principle. So when you're making a business plan, again, you really don't need these 45-page plans.
Yeah.
during that process, you're going to learn a lot about your company. You're going to learn a lot about whether you love it or like it, hate it, whether it's realistic or not. Because when you start typing it out and saying, what is my mission statement? What am I doing? What is my competitors doing? And you start researching your competitors, you realize, man, when I did my energy drink, I was fighting with Red Bull and Monster and Rockstar. Those guys were doing billions and billions of dollars. Okay, how am I going to beat them? Well, I'm not going to go be bigger than them.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the best tasting energy drink in the world. And 7 months later, we became the number one tasting energy drink out of 900 drinks in the market.
Really?
And we won that back-to-back years.
Wow.
So I knew I was never going to be bigger at Red Bull. When I started Poker Site, I'm not going to beat Poker Stars in Full Tilt. Those guys were doing $8 million a day and $4 million a day. I don't want to be the biggest poker site in the world. It's not realistic. But can I be the coolest poker site in the world? Sure. Within a year, we had 6 million views on YouTube when there was no YouTube, or there was no Instagram, or nothing to push that. It was all organic. So I focused on, if I can be the coolest poker site in the world, I can be the best tasting drink in the world. Be realistic. If you're going to start the new version of an iPad, you are not going to be bigger than an iPad or an Apple. You're not. Yeah. Hate to break it to you.
No, I'm with you.
And people always want to talk about, you can do anything. No, there's certain things you just can't do. You're not going to be bigger than a $120 billion company. But can you make the coolest new iPad? Can you make a 3D iPad? Can you make something cool and different so that they end up buying you? Yes. Yeah. But if somebody comes and pitches me on they're going to be bigger than Apple, it's not realistic. And you have to be realistic in this game. A lot of people preach to be, in a lot of these motivational speeches, is you can be this amazing and you can be anything you want to be and as great as you want to be. Just think it and believe it and it'll happen. That's not the case. It is very, very
important. You said that. You just relieved. I felt like years of stress just came off my shoulders.
I love the concept of The Secret and some of these things that talk about believing and thinking about it. And
there's elements of truth to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But now when you've brought in the world and you have those elements and the great heebie-jeebies to get those things you wanted, now you got to go out, wake up, and do something about it.
Do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When if I think about $22 million coming into my bank account, that's not going to happen.
Exactly. Keep checking.
Yes. You can click refresh.
Tomorrow?
You can click refresh as much as you want. But if you don't go buy the lottery ticket or go start that company or go do something to make that 22 million show up, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody's not going to mail you a lottery ticket and you're going to open it up and then there it is in your mailbox. It doesn't happen. You have to go buy that ticket, go start that company, go do the work. Because just thinking about it is it's not realistic.
Yeah. And it's not rewarding either. Like,
no, it's not
I
fun.
wouldn't want somebody, to give me $22 million. I'm like, but if you do a couple
and then
things,
what? Yeah.
and it's your passion, it's like, oh, this feels good. Like, the marketplace is valuing what I've worked on. Mm-hmm. So I know that you're somebody that does a lot of social good. You give back quite a bit. So can you talk to us about your last project and how you're doing that?
So about 4 years ago, we started the Model Citizen Fund. Mm-hmm. And basically what happened was, for years I was raising money for other people's charities. So I'd raise 6 figures for that charity and 5 figures for that one and 6 figures for that one, constantly, every single year. And I always...
Through poker?
I did it through charity poker tournaments.
That's great.
We did live events. I had a jewelry store. I did live events there, and I would raise it for the fire department or the police station or the Kids Foundation or cancer or whatever. And it was always these different events. But I never saw the cause and effect. I never knew what happened. If I raised 70 grand for them, I gave them the check and then never heard from them again or never saw what happened after that. And there's nothing against what they did or what happened from there, but I didn't get to see and feel it, and I couldn't spread that love or energy to the people that raised the money with me. Yeah. So I wanted a charity that was very basic. I realized I can't cure cancer and I can't cure AIDS. And there's billions and billions of dollars being pushed towards those organizations. Yep. That's fantastic. It's not for me. So I wanted something very basic. So I created a charity that we make backpacks for the homeless. They have 150 items inside. Wow. So if I give somebody a backpack and they have 150 items, I know I've given them something that they can use. Some of the things for a few weeks and some things forever. So in there, those few weeks worth of food and drinks can only last so long. But there's backpacks and sleeping bags and a poncho and sunglasses for when it's dark and earplugs because it's loud on the street. And we spent 4 months just really thinking about what those 150 items are going to be. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make it affordable. So it's $100 out the door. Shipping, backpack, everything included. And I wanted to make it a charity where not a penny goes to the overhead. So none of the employees take anything. None of the volunteers take anything. Yeah. When we do the events, I pay for the events personally. So if $100 comes in, exactly $100 goes to the backpacks. Again, I have nothing against these charities that have millions of dollars in overhead.
Expense to get it.
They have to. Mm-hmm. They have to have CEOs and presidents and vice presidents and county departments and things like that. I wanted to make mine with 4 or 5 of my friends that didn't care about getting the money to help me build this company and build the websites and build everything that's involved in our group, and make it so that if we raise 10 grand or we raise 10 million, the overhead's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The things that we do are exactly the same. So we got a great warehouse in Los Angeles, 30,000 square feet. They charge us nothing for rent. They pack our backpacks for us. They ship our backpacks for us. They order all the supplies for us. So we made it a very lean, slim, effective event. Like when Greg said, hey, let's put 100 backpacks, there's $10,000 worth of backpacks up on the stage, and then we'll give them out after the secret knocks over in a couple days. Let's give them all out to people. Backpacks are made, 4 days later they're shipped, and they're here.
Wow.
And it costs nothing more than exactly that, the backpacks.
The reason I like that philanthropy is, one, like, you're connected. So it's not just the money, because it's weird how we get disassociated from the things that we're actually contributing to.
Right.
And the second thing I like is it's intimate. Like, if I was somebody that was on the street and I received that backpack, I'd feel like, whoa, you thought through all of my needs.
Yeah.
I felt like you actually took care of me in a way that I couldn't even think through taking care of myself. So I would be undone if I received that.
Yeah, the reaction is great because it's 14.4 pounds. So when you hand it to somebody,
They're like,
oh my God.
yeah.
So there's so many times that they start crying right away, or they just open it up and start pouring it out. Like, that reaction to me is priceless compared to other things. There's plenty of amazing charities you can do. This one to me is just a very basic, straightforward. I'm going to give them something. They're going to like it. It's going to help them. They can give it to their other homeless friends or trade and use it for.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of things that happen based on that backpack, and I'll see
It's
them.
a little mini market.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then 8 months later, I'll see them, and they'll have, they'll still have that backpack and some of the supplies left.
So, I know that you're always up to things, but what's the next thing? Like, to kind of wrap up this interview, where are you going?
So I'm continuing to do the consulting, advising for other people's companies, and then my own company it's called CelebVidi, like celebrity video, and basically it's a mobile app where if you wanted to ask Justin Timberlake to say happy birthday to your son, or you want to ask Mark.
And I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you want to ask Mark Cuban a business question, or Martha Stewart a cooking question, through this app you can type in exactly what you want Justin Timberlake to say, or the question you want to ask Martha Stewart about cooking for your wife, and then it comes into their phone through the app. We actually check it first, so it feels like you're sending it right to them. We check it first to make sure it's clean.
Yeah.
They choose their price, how much they want to charge. Let's say it's $500, $100, $1,000, whatever they want to charge. It only takes them about 15 to 30 seconds to answer it. And they read your script right off their phone, right into the camera, and then boom, they push send.
That is crazy.
And it goes right to you. It actually comes right to us. We make sure that they did it right, and then we send it to you. And they can make it affordable for people. So if you want to ask Damon John a clothing question and you have a new clothing company, instead of trying to book him for $4,000 an hour, which is what he charges for consulting, and it'd be hard to book it, in this case, ask him 4 questions for $300 each, exactly what you want to ask him, and have him answer it via his phone. It comes right to you. And so we have a little over 300 celebrities and athletes and influencers already. We have the 3rd largest hedge fund in the world as our backer,
Wow.
the CEO of Samsung, and the chairman of Marvel Studios, and a lot of great people on the advisory board. And we built this little all-star team to really build this company. So that's my next big one, personal one, and then just advising for other people's companies.
So when's it available? I mean, like, when can I go on?
This summer. I mean, we're pushing it live to the App Store in the next few weeks. We finished building it about a week and a half ago. So this is very fresh. It's been about a year leading up to this, but we're now finally done, ready to go.
Great. Love it. Dan, thanks.
Pleasure.
Can't tell you how much I appreciate you. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to talk to these people again, and appreciate your time.